You are the only person that I've met that revived a line from a brand, not a brand. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Season 2 from the Watchcollectivetwo podcast. My name is Ahmed Gaudat. I'm your host and one of the Watchcollectivetwo. And today I have a very special guest, a watchmaker who's really unconventional. And I remember we clicked very quickly together for a lot of reasons. Today I have Martin Klocke from Sherpa Watches. Thank you so much, Martin, for joining me today.
I have to thank for coming here, Ahmed.
Thank you so much.
It's been really great days in Dubai, my first time.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here, and it's fantastic to have you.
Thank you.
My podcast host.
Thank you so much. And actually, for those who are listening to us or watching us, so we had 3 days event now, multiple venues as well, not only one.
Yeah.
We had 12 brands, and it was extremely fun. And it was really great to see your watches in real life. Before we do anything or before we talk about anything, I think let's have a quick background about Martin before watches, let's say. Great.
Okay. I'm not a watchmaker, so that's quite a thing to say. I'm a mechanical engineer, and we just found out talking together that you wanted to go to the university where I studied mechanical engineering with automotive design specialty in Aachen in Germany. Before that, I'm a German, but I'm half Croatian, born in Switzerland.
Okay.
But lived all my life basically in Germany, so I would say I'm German. And I was now more than 25 years in automotive industry, working mainly for raw material suppliers, plastics industry in the automotive industry. So my heart is also beating for automotive.
Yes.
And I'm an engineer. So that's my life before watches.
So you seem to be in, let's say, comfort zone, right? A corporate guy, gentleman who has nothing to do with watches. And what happened that made you actually do your own brand, right?
So first of all, I got into vintage watches, which was also quite a, let's say, surprise move. I came there by looking for a watch for my wife. And I am not a mainstream guy. I'm more like underdog. So I didn't look for the main brands. And at that time, 2011, you could still find interesting watches for a good price on eBay.
Yeah.
I found a new old stock Inika Sherpa lady dive watch, and I bought it for my wife, finding out that 29 millimeters is actually small.
Very small.
But it's a super nice piece. Yeah. And then I found out that they made many more watches also for men. And I bought one of them, and I started collecting and researching. And that got me interested in two watches. The first step.
That was an Anika watches, right?
Yeah, that was Anikas. I have some Bulova, the hummingbirds.
Yes.
So, tuning fork watches. I have some Roma, some like the quirky models. So some rare Omega chronographs, an old Junghans chronograph. So I'm quite diverse. But the ones I really liked most, I think, were the Anika Sherpa series.
I mean, Sherpa line from Anika, because you are the only person that I've met that revived a line from a brand, not a brand. So we have seen a lot of people reviving brands, like every now and then, and every week.
It's a special case. So Anika sponsored an expedition to Mount Everest in Lhotse in '56.
Yes.
The original Anika SA from Langnau. Yeah. I'm stressing this because there is now a different Anika, which was founded in '89. And this company stopped existence. It went several times into bankruptcy. And then new owners from Hong Kong, a holding from Hong Kong, they took over the brand rights in '89. And they have their Anika brand, which are producing watches and selling them mainly in China and Hong Kong. And but they never returned to the history. So this historic Sherpa watches, they never did. And I in 2019, when my watch, let's say, spirit was growing, I wanted to do something new, and I thought maybe we can do the line together revive them. I wrote to them. I know they got it. We had a receipt, but they never replied. So basically, I thought, okay, this is gone. There's opportunity to bring those great watches back, which I really love. But then a friend of mine said, yeah, why don't you do it yourself? And I thought, no, I mean, I'm just an engineer, but I'm not a watchmaker. But the idea stayed in the head, and I found out that the Sherpa trademark name was completely available in Europe. And so I consulted some lawyers. I didn't want to make anything bad. I intended to work with them at the beginning. So I took, the chance to revive only the Sherpa line.
Yes.
And the Sherpa line is, in my opinion, also the most valuable and best line within the old Enica watches.
It's the more iconic.
Yes. It's a line of, I think, around 20 watches.
Yes.
And so my idea was to start and see what I can do. So that was the beginning.
But legally, there wasn't any design registration registered to them or something?
No, basically, the designs are usually, you can, as a company, register design, but there's also the artist who designed, but that is personal.
Okay.
So the person who designed it has some, let's say, artistic copyright, but that's been long gone. The patents have been long gone.
10 years or...
And the patents mostly of those watches have been not by Enica, but by the case maker Alvin Piqueret, EPSA, which is another storyline we might later on come to. So I thought, okay, in the legal context, you're never safe. There are always some possibilities.
But it looks like you've done your homework.
I've done my homework, so I started and started exploring what was so special about the watches. And I found out that there are quite a few things to research. And so between 2019, when I started, and 2021, when I made the first prototypes, there was a long phase of research and design and development.
Yes. And let me be honest with you and tell you something. When I saw your watches before online, in the WhatsApp groups that we're in also, it didn't hit my heart for one reason or another. But when I saw it and I put it on my hand, oh my God, I loved it. I loved it. So the vintage vibe that you get is amazing. The two crowns thing, and we're gonna be talking about this. It's beautiful. And the wearability, I did not think it's gonna be that wearable. It's very wearable. It wears way thinner than it is. You told me a number that I couldn't believe, like the thickness of the watch.
So the watches that I have at the moment, the Ultra Drive and the OPS, they have 13.5 millimeter thickness. But most people would say it's 11.
I said 11. If you remember, I said 11. So maybe we talk a little bit in details on the line that is currently happening. So you have the OPS line, and you have the Ultra Dive, right? Let's talk about the two models, the Ultra Dive and the OPS.
Yes. So when I started, there was a coincidence. When I had the thought to do that, to revive some models of the Sherpa lines, there was a guy in the Netherlands who wrote a book about Enica.
Yes.
Like me, completely outsider, loved it. Was his passion work. Martin van der Ven, and he wrote a book called Time for a Change, Vintage Enica. And I bought his book, I visited him, I talked to him about my ideas, and we both played around with which watches I should do. And the two most iconic ones were actually the OPS or UPS, which was back then the first black watch on the market in 68, I think. And the Ultra Dive, which is a twin sister model, just in a different color. So that's the reason I chose them. And they have the very similar, the same case. And the OPS is more military style watch with hardly any kind of flashy surfaces.
Yes.
And black coating. Back then it was a special coating that nobody really knows. It was
it one of the first black watches?
I think it is the first.
Yes.
I think it's 67 or 68. There was no PVD around at that time, so I think they used some kind of browning plus paint and most of them look very rocked.
Yeah.
But which is good because they are in like military style and tool watches. They need to look like that. And the Ultra Dive was always the let's say fancier, more dressy version of that watch. And at that time, for example, Alain Delon and Lino Ventura wore those watches in a movie called The Adventurers. Quite a crazy movie actually, and worth watching. So I decided to do those two models. And then I started to dive in and see what is so special about them.
I loved both models, to be honest. So let's talk a little bit on the specs of these two models. So what is the movement that you're using currently?
So I have a special movement. It's based on a standard movement from Switzerland, which is good for people who want to know that they will be serviced by any watchmaker and for quite considerable cost, not exploding cost.
And still Swiss reliable movements.
Yeah, it's a known reliable movement. Yeah. It's in a very good top regulated version, gold plated like the classic watches used to be. They always used to be gold plated and highly finished. It's a classic move. We don't have a glass back, but still they're highly finished. But that's my idea of how things should be. You know, if you open the watch, it needs to have a beautiful movement. If you have a case back in glass or not, it doesn't matter. It's just that's the standard I have.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So and regarding the movement, because we use the Sherpa name, and the Sherpas, usually the people who carry everybody up and down the Himalayas, up to the highest mountains, they never get the credit that they should do. So first thing, we support two foundations in the Sherpa country. So one is cleaning up the Everest area and collecting garbage and recycling it. It's so-called Sagamata Next in Lamche Bazaar. And we have another one which is rebuilding and keeping a school in the completely out there area in the Sherpa country for little kids to have good education. So that's what we do with each watch, a small percentage of that.
Very impressive.
And the other thing was the Sherpa name needs to have some kind of mirroring inside of the watch. So I wanted to do something with a movement that has something to do with the Sherpas.
And this brings us to what is the Mantramatic?
Yes, what is the Mantramatic? Actually, I had this because when I started the brand, I actually didn't focus on the Sherpa name. But then I realized during the development and research that actually the Sherpas are Tibetan Buddhists. I'm also Tibetan Buddhist, so a different storyline. But I'm since more than 20 years Tibetan Buddhist. And I thought, okay, brilliant, I need to do something. I didn't know what. So over time, I had this idea. The Tibetans, they always wish everybody the best and good luck, and they're saying mantras. Okay, mantras, to say mantras in the watch is a bit difficult. But in the Himalayas, they also have these wheels that are turning. So big mantra wheels, or the small ones they have in their hand, the prayer wheels. And so I had some ideas, plans. I went to one of the teachers of my lineage and I asked him, is it just a stupid marketing gag for me to sell the watches to people who don't know better, which I didn't want to do. I want the watch, if I claim something, it should be inside.
Yes.
So like the compressor, there is a compressor. We can talk about that later on.
We will actually.
We will. And if I say there's a prayer wheel which is working, it should be according to the Buddhist tradition. So I met the teacher, I taught everything, and they said, okay, this is how I want to do it. And he said, it's good to do. And then he looked at my drawing and said, okay, no, this is not so good. So he corrected it, and it took me over a year to fine-tune the laser engraving that you can actually read it. So it's 0.1 millimeter high and 1 millimeter long, the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum or Om Mani Padme Hum. So the wheels are rotating in the movement all the time, giving out good vibration to everybody. So while you're wearing it, nobody knows, but you know it's happening.
And it was extremely hard to do, right?
Yeah, actually it took a while. I had to create a special engravement script for Tibetan on the computer. Tibetan has 1,600 characters. I'm now at number 500, I think. But it was enough for my mantra.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe one day I'll finish. And also my laser engraver in Solingen, who was engraving high quality knives. I had to get a new laser.
Okay.
Fortunately, not just for me, but for his other jobs too, because I mean, for me only, it doesn't make sense.
Makes sense, yes.
So together with that, it was possible to make it really small and readable. So in the end, it worked. And we could move on to the other things that we do.
When I saw the engraved wheel, I was like, oh my God, that's...
yeah, usually to shows, I also bring them with a loop. You can actually see them. Yes. And then you realize that they're really, really small.
And you actually did the smart thing, showcasing it through the magnifier.
At the show.
Yes, at the show.
It's nearly impossible to do in the watch. So even if I had a glass back, it would be hidden by bridges.
Yes.
And even if I would remove some of the bridges, I would need a very, very high magnification loop inside of the watch case. So it's hard to show.
Who knows? Maybe in the future we upgrade this and do something else.
Maybe in the future.
But the watch is a compressor watch, right?
Yes.
Was the crown developed by you, the mechanism?
So I started researching what is actually so special about those models. Yes. And I found out that the key element was the case maker. So the case maker was EPSA or Alain Piqueret. And it was at that time, I think, the biggest case maker in the world. Highly innovative, completely underrated. People forgot him now. So that's why I'm quite proud to bring it back and also tell everybody about it. They had more than 250 patents just for cases and crowns. Super intelligent people. And they developed a technology that was known as the compressor. Most people think you need 2 crowns for that, which is not true.
No.
You just need the water resistance system. And they developed over 5 different compressor systems. The most well-known is the super compressor.
Yes.
But they also had for Inica, they had the EPSA stop or the bayonet compressor, which I brought back. They had a clip-on one, which is the standard compressor. Yes. And they had one for square watches, which was actually the case back for the first Hoya Monaco.
Oh, okay.
So they made it possible that those watches also were watertight, which was very difficult with square watches at the beginning. So, and I brought back the bayonet compressor. But I found out that something was going on with the crowns, which I didn't know. Nobody told me, and it was hard to find out. So I found a patent, but I didn't really understand it, because patents are usually written to protect your own technology, but not to tell everybody how to do it.
No.
So I bought an NOS crown with no sign on it, because any car crown with a sign on it, and to break it is a bit not so clever. So I bought a crown. I had to destroy it to find out what was in there, and it was a completely different system to what I have seen in my life so far. Okay. And the other thing was that some of the old watches, any car or not any car, the compressor watches, if you put in a new gasket for the case back, sometimes or in many cases they were still watertight.
Yes.
With a crown that is 50 years old. And that's quite strange. So I found out it's a system which doesn't use rubber, which was at that time not so reliable or as reliable as it is now. Mm-hmm. And a very different system. And then I had to research, because nobody can tell me what it is. I found an archive in Switzerland, and in that archive, the head of the technical department of EPSA had all his stuff, all his documents. And even there, it was difficult to find out, but his daughter wrote a internship report for her internship in the company, and in there she explained how the crown was working.
Exactly, in details.
In details. Okay. In her own words, which made it easy to understand.
Exactly.
Which was, of course, all in French, and my French is from school. So
it was a good opportunity to revive it.
Yes. So I can read French better now and can speak a bit, because I had to talk to all the suppliers. But and I found out, it's a special crown. I understand how to work it, how it's working. And I found out that the supplier of the crown from then still is alive today.
Okay. That's good news.
I thought that's a lottery win, because I don't have to do the work. I found out, I called them, I said, it's a drawing number such and such, and can you still make it? They say, no problem, you come here to Geneva, we meet. So I came to the meeting room in Geneva, 3 people, 5 drawings on the table. Yes. And before I could open my mouth, they said, Mr. Klocke, what is this? I said, come on, I was asking question, not you. So I came here to find out, and it appeared that they lost all the knowledge either because all the people have gone since then, they retired.
There's no corporate memory anymore.
There's no corporate memory, or because like in the automotive industry, sometimes people make something to a drawing, built to print it's called, and they didn't really know what it was. Yeah. So maybe EPSA gave them the task to do the crowns,
but they didn't know what
they didn't know what it is. They just built it. I don't know either of them, but the guys were actually really nice. They didn't want to recreate it because they didn't have any tools anymore. They should have invested, and they didn't know what it is, but they gave me the 5 drawings. I could use them. So with that, and my engineer Cyrano Devante, who also has a own brand called Oscillon, super clever engineering guy for watches. And he told me, okay, we just redesign that and you do your crowns yourself. I said, okay,
I like this.
I'm making my own watches, so why should I now again do another thing, make crowns? But that's how it is. So I have suppliers supplying me parts. Interestingly enough, I'm from the plastic industry. The gasket is actually injection molded plastic, super tiny. And I build them myself in-house.
That's great. I mean, nobody would think that you went through all of this.
No.
to revive a mechanism.
Yeah.
You revive strange things. One line out of a brand, and a mechanism that nobody knows what was it.
Yes.
So it's pretty much interesting. What do you see your designs going towards from now on? Because at a certain point in time, you're gonna run out of reviving old models from this line. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you need to develop, right? So what's your plan for this?
Okay, first I have to say there are around 20 models. And there are several chronographs.
Oh, okay. 20 models.
Yeah, I would say 20 models, yeah. Different chronographs, amazing chronographs, GMT models, other dive watches. They even have an alarm version. So there are many watches to go, but I know what you mean. So for me, our DNA are these compressor case designs, which actually mean, we didn't say that, which mean that we use the water pressure to make it tighter. And the crowns are not screw down, which are quite unusual for these kind of watches. And they are certified to 200 meters. I think they're better, but okay, 200 is for many people enough. So I think this is something we will keep, or I will keep. And also I will keep the Mantramatic.
Okay.
But apart from that, I know that sooner or later we will have to evolve with our own designs. But at the moment, we still have enough models to go.
Yes.
And what I also will do, I will do models or versions of the models that never existed. For example, the 2 new Ultradive models that we just presented. So the Ultradive Sun and Moon.
Beautiful.
The Moon actually existed in very rare forms in the past. So it's a silver sunbrush dial. Yes. And I brought it back in real silver galvanized and rose gold galvanized. And I think this design of the Ultradive is so universal that you can do a lot of color work. So this is something we will play with. And then we will see after time what else we can come up with.
And the Moon existed, the Sun didn't, right?
Right.
So you started already evolving.
Yes.
The designs.
And some people maybe saw that we had a special model for my sister, which was in turquoise. And turquoise
no,
color.
I haven't seen it. No.
Oh, I need to show you. So, and it's very flashy.
That's one of one, huh?
One of 2 at the moment. It really stands in the design. It really keeps its form, but you can push it quite. The boundary of the design is quite good. You can do a lot with that design and colors. So we will do that before we really start doing really new stuff.
The watches is German made, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you make it at the very beginning Swiss made?
Oh, good question. I had the idea at the beginning to have somebody make it for me in Switzerland. Like many other companies do, they do Swiss made watches. So they have a private label company doing the watches Swiss made and deliver it. So I had the first conversation with these guys, and every time I had to explain to them what the compressor system was, how it works, and how the crown may work. And then after the third conversation, I thought, why do I have to tell them every time what to do? And I thought, well, maybe I do it in different ways. Yes. And I thought Germany is also not a bad manufacturing country.
No, at all. German watches are...
they have their own standing. So I thought, well, why not do it in Germany? I'm German, living in Germany, so I decided to do it in Germany. And the way I do it is I don't really have a private label company doing everything for me. So that means I had to look for suppliers for all the parts. I have a sort of central hub in Pforzheim, which means my case maker, who is also making cases for Glashütte Original, so he's a really good guy. And the watchmaker is sitting nearby, which is important as such that the watches are tested to 200 meters and certified to 200 meters. So you need the test immediately after you assemble the watches. So it's good that they're close together. And all the other components of the watch are from Germany or Switzerland. The glass is from Switzerland, the hands from Switzerland, the dials from Germany. What else do we have? The crowns I make myself from Swiss and German components. So the whole watch is basically made in Central Europe. All the parts, and not just made in Germany on the dial.
Yeah.
So that's different. And many people, and me included, before I started this, I thought if it's made in Germany, the parts are from Germany, which is not the case. Many German or Swiss watches, when you look at them, everything you see, glass, case, hands, dials, are from Asia, from India, from China.
That's true.
And but I wanted to go the other way, which also meant that my price point is different, which at the beginning a lot of people discussed about, but I think for me important was to stay in Germany, to stay in Europe. I wanted to keep all that stuff with little small family-owned companies in Europe, which is something for me also close to my heart.
Yes.
And this also shows on the quality when you have it on the wrist, I think. So many people discover when they have it on the wrist, they really discover super comfortable, good solid feeling, a good weight balance, and they can appreciate what I do.
So to be honest, it is very high quality, and usually people who start a micro brand, they would go for sub $1,000 range because it's easier to sell. As a matter of fact,
yes, I know.
You have done everything the hard way. So first of all, you revived non-commercial, non-trendy kind of watches, because you know how is the market.
I know. Yes.
It's not your watch, which is being like the mainstream. And instead of doing like Asian kind of made watch, which some are really good actually.
That's no point again.
You went for like the highest of the highest quality, and the watch is really, really, really high quality. So I like that you're always against the flow. So maybe let me ask you a question regarding what do you want to achieve with the brand? Where do you want to see the brand in maybe after 5 years, 6 years, 10 years? What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to reach as well?
Okay, so I think I don't need a real repositioning because I already started in the region where I think the watches belong.
Yes.
So I don't start cheap and then go up. So I think I'll be there in that region. But I want to make it a bigger spread. So I want to have some cheaper watches, which are not maybe dive watches, but just 3-hand watches. And go up maybe with some chronographs and have the proper lineup with GMTs and other models. And I want to grow such that we are still a small company. We have some employees, a building, and we are a bigger, proper brand.
Yes.
But I don't want to really be big. I quite like it to be not a manufacturer because I don't have my own movement, but to be a small watch house, maison, in Germany.
Passionate kind of environment.
Yes, I want to grow organically to a point that I feel well with that, and I can also concentrate on this job because I still have another one. This is my passion project still.
I hope your boss at work doesn't see the episode. So. I'm just kidding.
No, I think I can do both at the moment.
Yeah.
So but that is what I want to do. So I want to establish this brand so people can accept it. They have a bigger choice.
Yes.
And then after that, we can talk about something new designs that haven't been in the history. So then I want at the second step, I want to start to do something that hasn't been there in the history. So that's my vision that I want to do.
But do you think that you might do at a certain point in time an affordable line, more of, I mean, sub 1,000 for people for people to try and see and taste the whole experience, the Sherpa experience?
Yes. But then sub 1,000 would mean sourcing out many things, not to Europe but to Asia.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think I can only do it either on a different name or after we are really established and people can accept that.
Yes.
Otherwise, I would mix the brand.
Yeah, it's going to be confusing.
Yes.
Makes sense.
So because one of my DNA is that I say I'm sourcing everything in Europe. Except the bracelet. I'm very transparent on my page, by the way. You can see all my suppliers.
Yes.
But that would mix up.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, and I'm also thinking how to do that, but I'm not sure how to do it yet and when.
You're gonna know it at the right timing, so you're gonna feel it once the time is right. And what? So, any upcoming models that you're gonna be issuing soon?
Yes, of course. I have many in my mind, but the nearest or the closest step would be another dive model, but slightly different look. And what I really would love to do is a GMT model. So in the past lineup, people can look it up. There was one called Superjet, and it's fantastic. So this is what I want to do next.
Great. I really enjoyed the conversation, Martin, to be honest.
Me too.
I'm really honored to have met you in person.
Yes, it was a pleasure.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again, seeing your watches, testing it on. Maybe if the wife allows, I'm gonna buy one. But thank you so much again for accepting the invite, and really love your work, and really would suggest like the audience to check your watches and your products now available now, you know. For those who are watching us at home, thank you so much for listening or watching. This episode is available on YouTube and all the other podcast platforms. Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Thank you so much.
It
was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.